Hello everybody and welcome to this month's specifying practice group call. Unlike previous calls, this call is going to be a little bit more of a unscripted presentation today, as we have a bunch of guest speakers from last week's session actually in Nashville for the annual Construct show.
All right, good. Thanks very much, Matt. This is Dave, and I'm coming to you from South Jersey. Safely made it back from Nashville. It was my very first time in Tennessee, let alone Nashville. So that was an interesting experience. And my first reaction, Lewis, I don't know what the folks in Nashville think, my first reaction to Broad Street was Bourbon Street with cars. So I enjoyed it. I enjoyed walking Broadway. Is Broadway, right?
Yes.
With all of the music, and I thought that was fabulous. It was just a good experience. But look, we have the most famous band in Nashville up on the screen. Lewis, you want to introduce the band?
Okay. Well, the old man on the left practicing mind over mandolin is myself. The fellow in the middle is Duke Walker, who was a member of CSI for many years. He's an architectural graduate from the University of Memphis. And unfortunately, he got caught in layoffs in the big recession and has gone into a different field of business, and so he's not currently a member of CSI. He was editor of the Memphis chapter newsletter and won 2 or 3 awards for that publication. And then the fellow on the end for many fiddle player, and we played all street festivals and private parties and churches. For this event at the host chapter party at there was exactly 6 years ago in September 2007 when we played the International Goat Days Festival in Millington, Tennessee.
Goat Days?
Yes.
There's got to be a story behind that.
They have goat chariot races and goat barbecue and fancy goats on display and arts and crafts, and it's a lot of fun. Millington is a town in Shelby County north of Memphis. And we played there several years, actually. Had a lot of fun with it. Because we did a lot of gospel music, we picked the name Critical Path because we thought that was a good play on the phrase the straight and narrow. And we had a lot of fun with that. At one of our concerts, an older lady at the interval asked our then fiddle player, "Now, what was the name of your band?" And Jeannie said, "Critical Path." And the old That's even funnier.
Help out and do a 5 to 10 minute presentation, just a summary of some of the things that they experienced at the convention. And one of them with our buddy, let's see, does anybody recognize this dashing fellow? Joe Anatrella. Matt, might you be able to get Joe on and see if he's available? I know that I see him logged in. Joe, if you're there, let us know when you're live. Matt?
I have tried to unmute him, but Joe, it indicates that you had not left in your PIN number yet. So if you don't enter in the audio PIN number, I can't unmute you.
Oh, dear.
So in that case...
there he goes.
Oh, here he goes. All right, I can unmute you now, Joe. Are you there?
I'm here.
There we go.
Who's that young guy on the screen? I don't recognize him.
When was the photo taken, Joe?
When I had brown hair.
Aha! Well, that's what happens when you put these photos on LinkedIn. They survive forever.
Forever.
So thanks for joining us and volunteering, or being voluntold, as Joy would put it. Yes. So, Joe, you said that you were going to...
the nickname of Tennessee is the volunteer state, so...
This is true.
You came to Tennessee, you're an honorary Tennessean, at least for the convention week.
Okay, so Joe, you volunteered to just do the summary of the opening session, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay, so you're on. Go ahead. We're timing you.
All righty. I'll be done in 6 minutes.
Okay.
The keynote speaker at the opening session at Construct was Ira Blumenthal, and he's an old friend of Casey Roth, the new president of CSI. And Ira, coincidentally, coached Casey's sons in Little League Baseball. Ira wrapped his entire presentation around the great poet and philosopher Bob Dylan. He used Dylan's "The Times They Are A-Changin'" for the theme of his entire presentation. And it was amazing that a song written in the 60s is still relevant 50 years later.
That I used to sing back in my folk singing days.
When you played guitar.
When I played guitar instead of mandolin.
Yeah. His speech was mostly about branding, but especially our personal brand. He discussed brand identity versus brand image, where brand identity is what we think of ourselves or our company, and brand image is what others think of us or our company. And basically he said it is more important for what others think of us than what we think of ourselves, especially in business. What do you think of when you think of Walmart? Most people think of the word cheap. But I can guarantee you that is not what Walmart thinks of themselves. Examples of great branding was when somebody says, "Make me a Xerox," when their copier is a Toshiba. What do you blow your nose in? A Kleenex. And you drink your coffee in a styrofoam cup. But of course we all know that styrofoam is blue. In our industry, that countertop is a Formica top, and that gypsum wallboard is sheetrock. Then he talked about change and how change is faster than ever before. Change is inevitable and growth is optional. By embracing change, you reach distinction, and by ignoring change, extinction. Come gather around people wherever you roam, and admit that the waters around you have grown, and accept it that soon you'll be drenched to the bone. If your time to you is worth saving, then you better start swimming or you sink like a stone. And the times they are a-changing. We talked about Ray Kroc, who bought a few hamburger joints named McDonald's, and he and a syrup peddler who worked for Coca-Cola were discussing their future. And Ray said he dreamed of having 20 McDonald's restaurants someday, but he needed some money. The guy from Coke brought him to Atlanta and let him talk to his boss, because Ray could not get a bank to loan him the $535 or whatever it was dollars that he needed to expand. The president of Coca-Cola gave him the money on one stipulation, that Coca-Cola would be the exclusive supplier of soft drinks at McDonald's. No papers, no contract, just a handshake. To this day, Coke is the sole supplier of soft drinks to McDonald's. And to this day, there is still no contract in place. The point was that Ray was a visionary thinker, and so was the president of Coca-Cola. Without visionary thinking, nothing big happens. But that visionary thinking needs to continue. Look at Howard Johnson's restaurant. There were hundreds, maybe thousands of them all over the country on this new thing called the Interstate Highway. That was visionary thinking. But today, there's only 12 or 15 of those restaurants left. When was the last time you flew on Trans World Airlines? They were the biggest airline in the world. Where are they now? Can you return your TV to Circuit City? Nope. They're gone too. Come mothers and fathers throughout the land, and don't criticize what you can't understand. Your sons and your daughters are beyond your command. Your old road is rapidly aging. Please get out with the new one if you can't lend a hand, for the times they are changing. Motorola was king of the radio, and then television, and then two-way radio, and then cell phone. They changed with the times. The change is happening more rapidly than ever. They were late to the smartphone market, and now they're struggling. BlackBerry was the cell phone to have for business. Now they're struggling to remain relevant. And Ira gave many other examples. The line is drawn, the curse that is cast. The slow one now will later be fast. At the present now will later be past. The order is rapidly fading. And the first one now will be last, for the times they are changing. Ira concluded his presentation with him saying that Bob Dylan song with words especially for construction. And I heard from many people that Ira was the best keynote speaker at Construct in years, and I would have to agree. He mixed humor with his message, and his message was strong. Change or die. Back to you, David.
Joe, this is Louis.
Yes, sir, Louis.
Now, are you on staff with a large firm, or are you an independent consultant?
I was on the staff of a medium-sized architectural firm until I was laid off, and now I am the consultant.
Well, okay, then his talking about branding is, I can understand why that really hit home with you then.
Oh, yeah.
It's obvious that you've given his message a bit of thought. Can you share with us any of your preliminary concepts about branding yourself in terms of marketing your skills and abilities?
You have to have a consistent message to your audience. You have to know who your audience is. For mine, it would be architects, engineers, contractors. Actually, my old firm brought me back on a consultant basis because they were having trouble with a problem with a roof in one of their schools. And whenever the word roof came up, my name was associated with it.
So that's part of your branding.
That's part of my branding. I've done many, many re-roofing jobs. This was a new school, but they brought me back at triple the price that they were paying me when they had me, so that's a good thing, I guess. I probably need to move out of town, so then I could be an out-of-town.
That's right, the expert. More than 50 miles away and carries a briefcase.
That's right.
And and charges even more. So that just improves your income. So the one thing too that I took out of that message was that you should know who is important to you and why they really are important. And I don't know if that was really clear in how I represented it, but when he talked about coaching Little League and trying to do the draft for the players, and who was the most important person to draft first? Do you remember what he said, Joe?
It was the parents that were most involved or least involved.
Well, he wanted the kid whose mom would be the team mom.
That's right.
Right? Because they would be involved and help make his whole job easier. And the second most important person to draft?
I recall some of it, but
Okay.
right now.
See, this one stuck with me. It was the kid whose family had the pool.
Yes.
Yes.
So unlike what the audience was thinking, the pitcher would be first and the first baseman would be second, no. Ira was going to look out for the kinds of things that were going to make his job easier, and I thought that was a great approach. It was just an interesting story and an interesting way to present this.
And the team mom would always bring ice cream.
That's right, because you can't function without snacks, and anybody who has kids in sports would know that. Well, thanks very much, Joe. Comments from anyone else? Oh, Lewis, we have your guest soloist.
Yes, I saw that
Joined us.
Vivian Volz just joined up with us, and she got up and helped us do our final tune of the evening. She sang with harmony with me on "I'll Fly Away."
Yeah, that was, and I wished I had recorded that. It was.
Yes, I wish you had too.
And for anybody that wants to hear Lewis, I did record a short piece that he was playing, and Matt promised he's going to stitch it into the audio recording of this session. Playing it over the air with WebEx or with GoToMeeting is just going to freeze everybody's machine probably because of the bandwidth. But Matt will put it into the recording on YouTube.
And I also recorded Ira's song at the end.
Oh, you did?
I did it on myself.
We might explain to folks that Ira set new words to Bob Dylan's song. They were based on the original song, but tailored to his message, and did a good pastiche job, as they say.
Right.
Okay, so Matt, we've got a couple more folks that have said that they would pitch in today, and let me just go through and tell everyone who's to come. Shri Shachter has agreed, and she's from CSI Portland chapter. Cliff Marvin, who's from New York City and one of my cohorts there running our office in New York. Paul Gerber, is he on? I don't see him yet. I twisted his arm. I don't see him. So we may have to rely on some other volunteers.
I think
that
I
we
saw
could choose.
David, I'm sorry. I think I saw a tweet the other day that Paul was had a conflict and might join us later in the show.
Okay. So we'll wait
see.
for him. Okay. So let's see. Who else is up next? Charisse.
The charming Charisse.
So Matt, can you let Charisse unmute Charisse for us?
One of the most enjoyable things to me about the convention, for my recap, was getting to meet people that have been attending these sessions, or that I've exchanged tweets and emails with and had not met face to face yet, and I was thrilled to get to meet Charisse.
So are you there with us, Charisse?
Hopefully she's unmuted.
Charisse? Oh dear. The wonderful world of technology.
I was just going to say, Charisse, it shows that you're logged in with a computer microphone, not on the phone. So perhaps it may be that the microphone for your computer is not working, just as a heads up. So I guess, David, if you want to go to somebody else in the meantime, Charisse, if maybe we can get you to call in so we can unmute you by phone, that'd be great.
Sharice, you're not getting off that easily. We're coming back. Okay, let's try Cliff Marvin. We'll go to him next.
Alrighty, so Cliff, you should hopefully be unmuted now.
Can you hear me?
We sure can.
Hi. I'm glad to be part of this. Thanks for inviting me.
Hi, Cliff. Thanks so much for helping out. And I guess you too, I just want to let everybody know, one of the first-time speakers along with Sharice this year at Construct. So I hope that was a good experience for you too, and maybe you can just touch on that a little bit, and if anybody is here that's thinking of speaking, maybe you can give them a little bit of insight in that.
Well, somebody else at the conference asked me about how to become a speaker, and honestly, it all kind of went by me in such a blur. I don't remember when you have to do what in terms of sequence, but I think at one point you have to register as a speaker with CSI, which is always a good thing to do. I just can't remember if I did that first or if that was the first step in the process. Perhaps you can help me there, Dave. I just don't remember. But then I had to submit a program, and which went through a selection process. And then when I was notified that I was invited to be a speaker, I got to say, it was pretty exciting. It was a very gratifying feeling, that somebody was interested in what I had to say. And then, of course, the experience of speaking at a national conference, it was my first time, and I think it went over well. I did get some good feedback afterwards, but of course I need to get the official CSI feedback, which I have not seen yet, but that Caitlin has promised us, I think she said by the end of the month or so we should be getting that. It was a good experience, and I encourage anybody who is an expert in this field to share what you know with those of us who can benefit from your experience. I think that there's no better way to learn than vicariously from someone else's experience, particularly when it involves hard knocks.
Well,
yes, the tuition is a whole lot less expensive.
Yes.
Well, and I would add that probably the best way to learn is to teach, because I always find that I end up learning more myself by just preparing to present the class than probably by attending.
I have long said that, and it is one of the reasons why I try to get out there and teach as much as I can. Teaching is definitely a learning process, and taking what you know and distilling it into a form that can be understood by people who don't know what you know is a process that, I guess, ingrains it in your mind. You become, it's almost becomes memorized, when you do it. So
Cliff, which program was it that you were going to talk about? I believe it was Brock Howard's.
Yeah, which I was very glad that you asked me to speak about, because I was thoroughly impressed with Brock. I thought Brock was definitely preaching to the choir, as far as I'm concerned. I am in fact saying a lot of the things that Brock was saying in his presentation, and that David is also saying.
Cliff, let the folks know what the name of the session was.
I was just going to say the session was, and I believe it was Friday, F05, and it's called What a Specifier Needs to Know About BIM, or Building Information Modeling. The first thing that he started to talk about, well, first he talked about the average architect, who is apparently about 30 years behind the time, which I thought was pretty funny. And then what he said was that, what we have to do is...
He's been reading my mail.
We have to try to reduce that period of behind, from 30 years to get with it, guys. And he suggested that those of us who have experience and who can guide the documentation process in an office ought to be doing so. Looking over the shoulders of the IT professionals or the input the designers that are inputting information into the BIM and guiding that process by determining what the level of development of the documentation is. And the way I understood it was that the level of development of the model is basically a reflection of the reliability of the data in the model. You were going to say something?
Cliff, I thought his distinction between sometimes LOD in the BIM execution model is described as being level of detail and sometimes level of development. And I thought his distinction that the level of detail referred to the input by the design team or the construction team, for that matter, into the model, whereas level of development is the reliability of the output of the information. I thought that was
that's basically it.
A very insightful distinction.
What he suggested that we try to do, though, is actually remove that term level of detail from our vocabulary, because it's not an accurate reflection of the usefulness of the model.
Yes.
The model is useless if the data in it is unreliable. And that was his whole point, I thought. I think, what's more important than how much detail or data is in the model, which would be the level of detail, what's more important is how reliable that information is and how much you can count on it. And it's always going to be the first question. When you hand somebody a model, a building information model, their first question is going to be, how reliable is the data in this model? And that's what he was trying to impress upon us, is that what's most important is how reliable the data is in the model. Another thing that I think came out of it, and this is what I was starting to say, is what David and I have been preaching, and that is that when you start off producing your documents, that you control the level of development of those documents to control, in order to provide the most reliable information to the user of that document. And so that's going to depend on where you are in the project, whether you're in design development or whether you're in construction documents, determines the necessary level of development of the building information model. Also, another thing that I think I came away with was to make sure that I don't use phrases like BIM models because of the redundancy of that expression. I forgot what he said in the meeting, and frankly, I don't even think I really heard it well. He made some comment about being perceived in a certain way. Do you remember what that was?
Killing a kitten.
Killing a kitten. Okay. If you say BIM model, you're killing a kitten.
Yes.
I guess it sort of just grates on those that would like to set themselves as the expert in that. Remember, we had the same sort of discussion when it was leads versus lead.
Yeah.
Right?
The old fingernails on the chalkboard time.
Right.
But over and all, Brock was an excellent presenter. There was someone I met in CSI from the Atlanta chapter at the banquet who tried to get into Brock's program and could not, and so I introduced him to Brock, and sure enough, when Brock got up and spoke, the first thing he said was that he was invited to Atlanta to present in that chapter. So any of you out there who would like to hear Brock speak, I'm sure he'd be interested in visiting your chapter.
As a matter of fact, David and I just the other day were discussing that we're planning to invite Brock to be a guest thought leader here on the Specifying Practice group.
That would be an excellent idea.
We can arrange him because he's an excellent speaker and has some exciting ideas, and maybe we can get him to come and talk to this group.
We should also get Gloria Rasmussen. She's a radical, though. Talk about radicals.
All right.
Vivian Volz comments that Brock is going to be presenting in March in San Francisco, where he is moving this fall.
Okay, so if we want them on East Coast, we're going to have to foot the freight here for the airline ticket. I can see this now. All right. But, yeah, unfortunately, I had to leave Brock's session early because of the bloggers panel, but the part that I did sit in on I thought was excellent. There was a document that I found online, and honestly, I've been trying to, I know I saved it, I can't lay my hands on it, but it was a document produced by one of the Scandinavian countries that talked about essentially level of development or level of detail before it was actually named that and before AIA had published their document. And they had some very nice graphics that went with it that explained the various levels, which I thought was really helpful to show the kind of detail that was representative at each point in development of the process. So there are other documents out there available to help in that, understanding what might be appropriate for a BIM through the development of the design.
I think that was Norway.
It may have been. I knew it was one of the Scandinavians.
But the University of Pennsylvania has been on the forefront of this, and on their website, let's see, I think I have it here.
Well, I published a story about this session.
Okay,
and I believe the address that you're looking for is in that story.
Yes, but anyway, there's an extensive amount of information in there about how to do a BIM execution plan, of which the LOD matrix is a primary component.
Okay. I know that Matt has been trying to get Charisse on the line. Matt, were you successful?
Well, Charisse, I'm going to have you try here to talk, and we'll see if that works. If not, hit *6 and see if that works. Charisse?
I love it when technology works.
Perfect. Exactly what I was hoping would happen now. So I guess if you want to keep moving on, tell me what I'll mute next, and I will continue to try to troubleshoot with Charisse.
Well, we may be out because here's our next speaker, and he's not online yet.
And I sent him a reminder just in case.
I did try to coerce Paul Simonson, and I don't see him online either. So maybe that was his way to make sure that he didn't get selected. I don't know. All right, so let me do this. Let me ask of everyone here, I know some of you were at convention, and if you would like to give us your 5-minute summary of any of the programs, just raise your hand. Eric Lucier, I see you out there. You must have attended something.
David, perhaps Sheldon would give us a 5-minute resume of his presentation.
We could try that. Sheldon, are you willing?
Stick up your paw.
Raise your hand, Sheldon. We're getting no takers, Louis.
Because he had an intriguing subject, and I was sorry that I had a conflict and was not able to. There he goes. He's got his hand up. Okay, and, Matt. Let's.
And Eric also volunteered too.
Yeah. Okay.
So Eric, I have you undone, and then Vivian says to tell Sheldon, please. So Eric, can you hear us? Can we hear you?
And the answer must be no.
All right, Eric, if you're also on the phone instead of on your computer's speakers, try hitting *6.
Well, why don't we give Sheldon a go since he's got his hand up?
All righty. Well, then, Eric, I'm going to leave you unmuted in case something happens.
Okay.
They just unmuted you, so hopefully we can hear you now.
Can you hear me now?
We can. All right. Thank you. Oh, and I see just so I don't forget, I see Sandy McWilliams is logged in too.
Good.
She was one that had promised that she would help. So Sandy, we'll come right over to you after we finish up with Sheldon, or after we finish Sheldon.
Sounds ominous.
Well, thanks, Sheldon.
Hey, how you doing?
Just fine.
So here's what I have to say. I mean, I've done that spiel so much. I'm sure everybody's heard it, so I don't need to do that anymore. But I would like to say something about, and I don't remember the title of it, but Beth and Mark's presentation. Beth Strochan and Mark Chavez. And it was kind of fun. Well, okay, let me just back up and say I heard a lot of interesting things this year. A lot of people basically, I don't know, saying things like the emperor has no clothes, and you know, talking about what we in our profession might be able to do. And anyway, a lot of non-traditional thought there, which I thought was pretty interesting. Anyway, on with Beth and Mark, I sat in on theirs, and it's funny, we had kind of hit a lot of the same things from different perspectives, and afterwards we were talking about possibly doing a 1-2 next year with me starting off and them following, and then of course we tried to work things out better so we cover things more completely. But anyway, it was a real fun year, and I just it was just good to hear all the people. Cherise had a great presentation too, and so that's what I got to say.
Well, for those of the ones online here that did not hear your presentation, can you do a 2-minute summary?
2-minute summary. Documents have changed. We haven't kept up with them. Our specifications should be much shorter than they are. I throw out my theory that I can write about any architectural spec in a half page, and most of what we write in our specifications is padding and unnecessary. This, of course, just relies on, you know, the general conditions and a good Division 1, and it also relies on reference standards, which we don't use as well as we should. Second point, I guess, is that we've been paper-centric for too long. Not only I, but other people on technical committees of things have been telling Institute for many years now that you know, paper is not the thing anymore, and yet we're just so thrilled with page format and section format and things like that. And I guess the demise part of the presentation is that these things really don't make sense anymore. And my question is, if we kept the AIA general conditions and we used BIM and some of the new delivery methods, and we threw everything else away, what would we replace those things with? And I think they would look much different from what we have now, because again, our thinking always seems to be, how do we put this on paper? And I don't think that's necessary anymore.
Of course, there are the limitations. Is how do you apply a registration seal to an electronic file? And we do have a kind of a condition right now. It's sort of where we're limping in between the present and the future, where our contract documents have to be on paper where we can stamp them, or at least electronic files that can be that are 2D and they can receive a stamp, electronic pictures, I should say, from the files. But we're also starting to share models, share information, the reliability that Brock was talking about, that are not necessarily contractual requirements, but we are sharing information with the construction team and the suppliers and subcontractors and so forth.
Yeah. Well, we've always done that, and I guess from the paper aspect, it's pretty clear that I made this piece of paper. Beyond that, but I know there's legal things to worry about and everything, but it seems instead of trying to figure them out, I like my firm, for instance, refused to share models with our own consultants for a long time, and now we finally got to the point where we're actually sharing the model with our contractors, So, I mean, that's the real purpose of all this stuff, is to convey information easily. So,
Right. Well, and I was just having a discussion along this lines yesterday with one of our clients who was, after I did a presentation on specifying sustainability, they were talking about the necessity in each spec section. Sheldon, this goes right to your keep it short, of making sure that we specify all of the things that are required for that section, because the subcontractors never get Division 1. So they're stuck still in the paper delivery method, and I'm trying to convince them that, hey, if you're delivering your construction documents in a single PDF file, there's never any excuse for not having all the documents.
that's right, and I love that. I mean, we were able to do that now many years ago, and I think that's one of the great things, is that, yes, everybody gets everything now, and there's no more of that, I didn't get that part of it or whatever. You might not have looked at it, but you had it.
Right, you had it, and what's more is, you get a file like that, everything's searchable.
That's right.
So there's no excuse for not being able to find it.
We could even put hyperlinks in there.
Yeah.
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, I did. You guys weren't at my spiel this year, I guess, but I acquired 2 videos. That was the one thing, and people have commented before. It's like, okay, I thought we were going to talk about where things are going, and unfortunately, we weren't there yet. But I acquired a couple of videos in the last, in fact, within 2 weeks before the convention, that I was so thrilled to show, and I somehow, even though it worked here, I was unable to bring them up at the presentation, of course. And they're really, we're really on the edge now of doing, using this model for everything. I think one of the great values is in facility management. Because, if you can walk around with your tablet and look at something and it'll tell you what it is, and you could change the model from that point. That's going to be a really powerful tool for the owner.
Yes,
we need to move on, David. And
yes, because Sandy did volunteer to help, so I want to make sure we get her on. So, Matt, can you help us out? Unmute Sandy McWilliams.
I'm going to in just a second here, and then on a side note, I sent you a message. I think we may have Sharice fixed, so Sandy, you're unmuted. Hopefully you work.
Sandy, you with us? Oh no, Matt.
All right, well then I'm going to try to work with Sandy here, but Sharice, can you hear us?
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you.
Absolutely. Thank you for being patient, Sharice.
Oh yeah, Patience is my middle name. Good morning, or afternoon.
Oh, you're a parent.
Yeah. So I'm glad to see you all here. I actually asked Dave if, instead of speaking about an educational session, if I could talk about the social aspect of the convention. I joined CSI actually less than 2 years ago, and my involvement in this organization has really gone 0 to 60 in that time, because of the people in the organization. And I met a lot of them last year at the convention and kind of laid the groundwork. But coming this year and presenting for the first time this year, it just really, really exploded for me, in the level of interaction and support and guidance that you get from other CSI members. And while I've experienced that in everything I've done in CSI, somehow it's CSI on steroids at the convention. Everybody really is truly amazing, and the host chapter really knocked it out of the park this year. I really kind of feel sad for Baltimore, because now they're going to have to work about 10 times as hard to match up to the level that the host chapter went to this year.
See what kind of a standard you set, Lewis.
Good job.
I can't take any credit for it. I was not on the committees.
But I just, the people that I've met, especially on social media, on Twitter, Eric, shout out to you, my biggest supporter. They've really been amazing, and coming together at the convention, you already feel like you know them, even if you haven't met them before. And it just, this year for me, only being my second year and being new to the organization, that interaction and that collaboration and the information that I've gotten to these people have taken it to such a level for me personally that if I have to walk there, I will be at the convention every single year.
Charisse, Brock Howard just a few minutes ago put out a tweet that says, my message at the CSI Gala was that sharing is important to my CSI experience. Twitter is one of the most powerful ways to share.
It really is. A lot of these people we only get to see once a year. Some of the people I've made the closest friends with are all the way on the other side of the country, and it is a way for us to be in touch and to share information and to help solve problems really every single day. And 10 years ago, we wouldn't have had that. 10 years ago, I would not have met any of these people, and I would not have gone 0 to 60 in this organization. They don't call me the Kraken for nothing. But without these people, really, truly, none of it would have happened. And so my message to the people on this call who maybe didn't attend this year and are wondering if it is worth it, every educational session I went to was outstanding. I learned more in 1 week than I probably could in years on my own, but the people are what really enhance that education. They make it fun, and they add input and feedback from all different areas of the project team, which really make it solid, important information you can take back with you in your everyday life. Besides the fact they're all really super cool people and a lot of fun to hang out with. Okay, I'm good.
And we like watching bull riding.
Oh, Dave, you can just stop now. I know where to find you.
Aha. That was the academies, was it not?
Oh, you're going to keep talking. I believe all video of that particular incident has been destroyed by my handlers.
Huh.
Thank you for being a good sport, Charisse, and
No problem.
thanks for joining us. It was a pleasure to see you again at convention, and loved chatting with you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Okay, Matt, did you have any luck with Sandy?
I believe I'm here.
Aha! Thank you for hanging in there, Sandy.
Thank
Hello,
you for
Sandy.
allowing me to speak, except now I'm mad. I wanted to go before Charisse because her comments really echo my comments.
Well, let me introduce you a little bit first
Okay.
to the group, Sandy. Sandy is a representative of Nystrom, a manufacturer who make, amongst other things, roof hatches and excellent products from the frozen north.
Yes. And it is almost frozen here already. So, as I was mentioning, when I
We're
went...
in the 80s here in Nashville.
Yeah, no, we don't. We're not that fortunate here in Minnesota. It's already getting to be winter here. We skip right over fall, go straight to winter. So, I loved Nashville, and that was one of the great things of attending the event. Is just Nashville itself was a great city to go to, and I'd echo a lot of the comments that Charisse has. Construct 2013 is a perfect, is just a great event for building relationships, establishing and building relationships. As a manufacturer of product, it's really important for us to understand what our customers need in order to service them, and we believe that service is the key differentiator between us and our competitors. So attending...
a
yes.
branding attribute.
The
Yes.
bit of a branding, yes. So attending this event really gave me an opportunity, first of all, to put some faces with voices that I've worked with in the past as a manufacturer. Second of all, to really establish new friends and relationships. And I don't know if I was the only one, but Dave and Lewis were having a meet and greet at the CSI booth, and I was so excited because I've been listening in on these conversations for quite a while. So I ran right over there at 1 o'clock so I could have my opportunity to shake hands with both of them.
And we appreciated it too, Sandy. It was really nice to meet you.
Yeah, so it was, I was not conscripted. I was actually volunteered to speak, and I just really wanted to say from the networking perspective how important this event is for us as manufacturers too. You're a very important audience to us because obviously if our products are not in specification, it makes our job so much harder, but we misunderstand sometimes what it is you're looking for, how you want us to communicate with them. So I had great conversation with just a variety of individuals at the show that gave me better insights as to what we can do to help you do your jobs better.
And playing on our keynote speakers talking about personal branding, one of the most important things, of course, for a sales rep, from the specifier's perspective, is how is this a reliable person? Can I trust this person? Is this person going to give me advice that I can act on and not be embarrassed by? I had Sandy, this will amuse you. Some years ago, when I was up in Cincinnati, I had a salesman come in for a major national sealant company that I will not name, even though it starts with a T, and he came in and said, well, I'm a new salesman, and I appreciate that people change jobs and they may be new to something, and then proceeded to tell me that 2 weeks earlier he had been making water beds. So he had not been in the construction industry and did not have the same amount of believability that some of the other new salesmen and saleswomen that I've been fortunate to deal with over the years.
Yeah, and this is an extremely complicated business. It seems like the products sometimes aren't that complicated, but the process of putting a building together and getting the information all in where it needs to be is extremely complex. So I was very glad I had an opportunity to go to this event, and I'm telling you, I did not schedule my time appropriately. I did not understand all of what was happening at the event. This was the first time Nystrom has participated for a couple of years, and I'm a fairly new employee here at Nystrom, although I do come from the construction industry. And listening to the conversation today regarding some of the sessions, I'm sorry I didn't sit in. I think the print versus electronic delivery is a key priority for us. We want to deliver what our customers want. And then the integration of the BIM and the specs is also something we're very aware of and trying to keep our eyes on. So we make sure that we're servicing, again, what the customers need. So I would, again, just reiterate what Cherise said. Networking was just a great opportunity to connect with people. I'm sorry I didn't connect with Cherise, though. I guess I'll have to look for her at the next event.
Absolutely.
Or at least get onto Twitter and meet her there.
I will have to do that, yes.
We'll see you all in Baltimore.
Well, let's hope so. I plan to be there, and we can start watching for Baltimore's announcements and see what kind of good plans they have for us.
Oh, and for some of you who did not attend the annual meeting, towards the end of the session, there was someone asked a question from the floor about attendance, and a number of us old timers have been concerned about trying to rebuild the convention because it's been rather small for the last few years. That the Phoenix convention apparently was about 10% higher attendance than the previous year, which was Chicago, and they said that the early figures are that the Nashville convention was up about 20% from Phoenix. So we hope that Baltimore is even higher, and that we can rebuild to where we used to be and get more attendees and more exhibitors.
And doing the math, I think it was Walt Marlowe that had said Chicago was about 2,000 attendees. So doing the math, Nashville was probably up to about 2,500, which is a nice increase in only 2 years. So I don't know that we have anything specific planned for next month, except that I just did get done preparing a program on specifying sustainability, and I'm going to review that with Lewis. So maybe that will be up for next month, that we can talk about that. And Lewis did mention that we're going to try to get Brock Howard at some future event. We're also talking with Greg West from the ICC Evaluation Service, and he has promised that he will join us and try to help walk through the evaluation service and explain the kinds of tools that are available from ICC and how the specifying community might be able to make better use of them. Did I miss anything, Lois?
I don't think so. Don't think so. So we thank everybody for joining us. And, you know, this specifying practice group, the more input we get from the audience, the more fun it is for David and me, and I hope the more fun it is for you folks too. And you know, it just builds on what Sandy and Charisse both said about networking and sharing ideas. You know, the thing that's always excited me about CSI is meeting people and sharing ideas and sharing them freely, that we're not you know, being real protective about trade secrets or one thing or another, that, you know, it's one beggar telling another one where to find free bread.
Right. So next month is November 7th, 3 o'clock Eastern, and we hope to see you all then. We'll have an announcement out soon about what the program will actually be for November. So until then, we wish you well and hope to see you back here next month.
And keep the cards and letters coming in. If there's a topic that you would like for us to discuss or with the group, we want to know about that, because we feel like this is your group and we want to try to meet your needs.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining.